Hello, this is Sierra Blankenship on week 8, our final project. Today I'm choosing to do my final speech, my persuasive speech on capital punishment. This is an argument that can both go side to side. There's really no winning and losing with this argument. So it's not really one that I can say, I win this argument. Many people can argue this, that. I chose to choose this just because it is such a hard topic to talk about, and a lot of people don't agree with it. There's a lot of topics in that huge area of capital punishment that makes points to improve our country or that just make our country worse. And that's why I chose to choose this topic. I think it's very interesting, and I hope that you guys like it. It's a lot of information, a lot of numbers, but I do think this is a fantastic topic to talk about. And where I got my information from this was www.capitalpunishment.org. That's a fantastic website that you can get numbers from and do the formulas for all of that and get specific numbers for that. I also got it from www.crimeinamerica.net, also an amazing site, and www.felonvoting.procon.org, which is also another great site. All of those sites that talk about it is amazing, and I do suggest that most of you guys go and look up the topics and give me feedback on how, one, I can better my speeches over the past 8 weeks, and also what points did I miss in my speech? What are the things that I didn't include that I should have included, and all of that. So please do that. So since 1977, there has been 682,337 murders in the U.S. There has only been 1,359 executions in the U.S. Those numbers are extremely big to small. It's ridiculous. I have gathered that up to 30 to 77% of offenders end up committing another offense within 5 years of release of prison. The margin is also based on how many arrests they have before their conviction. According to the Department of Justice, there are approximately 166,000 prisoners currently sentenced just for murder. That number reaches 721,000, including all violent crimes, i.e. rape, aggravated assault, and robbery. I will keep this based on murder alone. Based on those numbers, I'm going to come up with a few approximate statistics. Let's say 15% of those murders were committed by criminals with multiple offenses. Seems fair. This leaves us with 572,986 murders left. Let's also say 30% have died by causes other than the justice system. We now have 401,090 murders left. After removing incarcerated murders and the 1,359 of the Justice Department took care of roughly about 233,731 prisoners who are not dead, not in prison, distributed across the United States. After applying the 30% who will commit again, 70,119 murderers who statistically will murder again. Imagine this number after adding the rest of the violent crimes. If you've heard about a man who was killed while trying to take someone's life, like most, you would say that the victim was defending him or herself and the offender had it coming. Why is it that after the act of murder, someone would say that capital punishment would be inhumane? If he was killed during that act of trying to murder somebody, it's self-defense. But if capital punishment was involved, it would be inhumane, most people would say. It's essentially the same situation, played over and over with different variables. The prosecutor is the representative of the victim. The offender is now the defendant, who now has a weapon, an attorney. In most capital states, the state requires a jury of 12 of the offender's peers. When the prosecutor wins the fight, the offender isn't killed, as they would have been in the initial fight. Instead, they are sentenced to rehabilitation or possibly death. If they are sentenced to death, they have an appeal process that can last up to 16 years or even more. The original victim didn't get any say or the ability to argue their case. The sympathy has somehow left the victim and has gathered around the offender. The simple question is, do you want to rehabilitate this person or punish them? 66% of the United States prefer punishment over rolling the dice, when essentially it is the same thing if the offender was killed during that act. Look at safety. Execution removes violent crimes from society. In prison, guards are safer from violent criminals who have no reason not to kill again. Inmates incarcerated for lesser crimes who have the opportunity to rehabilitate with even safer in our prisons. How about closure for the family members of a loved one of a victim? I can't imagine anyone who has lost a sister, a brother, a son, or a daughter supporting any idea of rehabilitating their offender. The right to live life peacefully in society has been taken, unlawfully from the victim and anyone close to the victim. I believe that this should constitute punishment for the offender, not simply a loss of rights. If your daughter, son, brother, mother, father was murdered, would you feel comfortable sending that murderer back out onto the streets? Yourself getting that closure for your family? Or how about another family that's up next to that murderer? Would you feel comfortable with that? I wouldn't. Capital punishment is a punishment proportionate to the crime committed. An eye for an eye makes the world go blind. Everybody has heard that expression. It's a common phrase heard from anti-capital punishment activists. This is an exaggeration of the truth. 99.6% of the population does not and has not committed murder. So 0.4% has. But we still have that high number up there of murders. 99.6% of the United States has not committed murder. But still, since 1977, we have had 682,337 murders. That being said, the activists should change their slogan to "An eye for an eye makes 0.4% of us go blind." Pretty much essentially saying that 4% is the ones not murdering anybody. An average of 15,200 people per year go, oh, and their families would have probably been okay letting that small percentage go. You have 0.4% who is not committing murder, or who is committing murder, and that 99.6% who is not. That is a huge percent of people in this United States who have not committed murder, and that 0.4% who has committed murder has an excessive murder rate for 40 years. Excessive. So my question for you would be, would you support capital punishment? Would you think that if capital punishment was directed and preferred in each state, would the crime rates go lower or higher? If a murderer said, I'm going to kill this person, and knew if he got caught, death would come upon him, do you think he would murder him? Probably not. So that is my question for you. I hope you guys liked this speech. I think it was a great topic to talk about. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.